Back with us now for the interview is Linda Thomas-Greenfield. She is the U.S. ambassador to the United Nations. This is the week of the United Nations General Assembly. Along with President Biden, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is going to be speaking with the UN General Assembly this week. I think they're both speaking tomorrow.
I know the president is speaking tomorrow.
I also expect that President Biden and President Zelensky will meet and continue their talks in person on this trip. I have to ask you about something that I realize is a thorny sort of thing, which is that one of the things we've learned in the news in the past week or so is that as America is supporting Ukraine in its war to defend itself against Russia, a single American citizen has business interests of such a type that he has been able, as an individual, to make decisions to constrain Ukraine's military from carrying out operations against Russia. And I'm talking, of course, about Elon Musk. I'm sure this is not an unprecedented thing in American history, but in Mr. Musk's case, we've got somebody who is an American businessman who effectively has foreign policy sway on his own and who, for whatever reason, has effectively decided to conduct competing and, I would say, oppositional foreign policy to the United States, a country of which he is a citizen. Who does President Zelensky come to complain about that? I mean, you are the U.S. ambassador to the United Nations, but Mr. Musk appears to be competing with his own country in terms of what his foreign policy is, and he has the technological resources to do it in a materially significant way.
You know, I would assume that President Zelensky will raise that with the United States. And having served as an ambassador overseas and served here, I do have countries come to me to complain sometimes about the actions of an American company in their country. And we do try to address those issues when they're brought to our attention. So I assume if President Zelensky has a complaint, he will bring that to us. If he hasn't already, he hasn't brought it to me.
With the kind of technology that we're talking about here, this Starlink technology linked to Mr. Musk's SpaceX company, is an integral, effectively, information supply line for Ukrainian military forces, an irreplaceable asset for them. And that's bad. In one sense, we now know, because the United States as a government effectively can't make a decision as to how that resource should be deployed to help or hurt our ally in that conflict. It's instead being made by a business, which is purportedly an American business, but not behaving in a way that is consistent with America's stated interests. What are the responsibilities of the American government toward American businesses that are messing with American foreign policy?
You know, we do two things working with American companies overseas. We support American companies in their efforts to work overseas, but we also establish certain parameters for how American companies operate. This is a situation that I can't comment on specifically. I don't know any of the details of this, but I do expect that President Zelensky will raise it, and it will be brought to the attention of others to address.
I knew you were going to avoid answering me on that question. I knew. Yeah. I could tell you before I asked it, because I know that you can't answer it in the specific. But I find it to be a confounding situation, just as an observer and as an American.